So, Theo, would you tell us about a time that confidence was a challenge in your life?
Yes, sure. So there's a little backstory and context for this. You might like to know that, well, you do know, but for those of you listening, you might like to know that I recently moved to Germany and I live just outside Cologne, which in itself was a challenge to my confidence. But that's not what I want to talk about. Um, I am also, as well as someone who lives in Germany, I'm a writer and a poet and a performer. And when I moved to Germany, I was looking for ways to kind of find some buddies, some friends, and reach out into the community and find especially a group of like-minded artists and writers who I could um, get to know out here. So what I did was last November is I inadvertently, or rather accidentally, got myself invited to take part in a slam poetry event in Cologne. And for those of you who don't know what slam is, it's a kind of competitive poetry reading, basically, where you take the stage, you read your poem, and then you get a big round of applause, hopefully, or a reverberating silence if nobody likes your poem. And then someone else comes to read, and if they get a louder applause than you, they go on to the next round. And then at the end, someone wins a bottle of whiskey or something. So I found this group in Cologne and I just put out an email saying, hey, I'm an English guy in Germany. I don't know anyone. Can I come and read? And I got a reply, I think, a couple of hours later saying, yes, the first slam is tomorrow. We'll give you 60 euros to take part, which is incredible. And the crowd is 350 people. So I was like, ooh, okay, maybe I'll just ask them if I can do it next month, because it's like it's a bit soon, right? But then something else in my mind was like, okay, so if I were truly confident, what would I do in this situation? And can I pretend to be confident so that I do that thing? So I told myself, okay, I'm just going to do this and see what happens. A bit like the universe was speaking to me. I was like, I'm going to take this opportunity and just, throw caution to the wind, so they say. So I already had my piece that I wanted to read, and I turned up in Cologne. This slam was actually the biggest slam event in Cologne, one of the biggest in Germany, which is actually one of the biggest in Europe. So it's quite surprising. Um, yeah, and so my thing about confidence is really about this moment of taking the stage to speak as you want to speak in that moment, to share your vision in a sense. And I arrived in this massive hall with all these German students looking eager-eyed up at the microphone. I was like, oh my God, okay, so first of all, I speak in English. Is anybody going to understand me? Nobody knows who I am. Am I really a slam poet of this kind, etc., etc. But being vaguely familiar with performing and being on stage in the limelight and what that entails and involves, I did it. I did my piece, and that was it. So the thing about confidence in that moment, and specifically about confidence, like when you've got a spotlight on your face, is that, and I reflected on this after, just like when you're in that moment, when you're on the stage and you literally can't see anyone in front of you because the lights are so bright, and you've got a microphone and you hear your voice really loudly coming out of the PA next to you, and you're like, it's a situation where you either have to give everything or you just run. There's no opportunity to be kind of halfway in that moment, because you'll be what's the word, you'll be found out, basically. So there's this idea of committing, which I think is really deep within the idea of confidence. It's like, if you're going to show up for yourself and for someone else, it's like commit to that moment completely. You've got the lights on you, there you are. If you're going to do it 100%. And I personally, I think one of the things I love about performing is that when you make that commitment, you find a kind of freedom immediately. It's sort of like a paradox. You commit, and that's okay. So you feel kind of totally committed to that moment and that person you're speaking to. But after committing, you're like, okay, here I am. I'm just going to go for it. That's it. And you throw caution to the wind, and if it goes well, it goes well, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. But you know that you've committed, and you can come away saying, okay, I did that thing with my whole heart, my whole body, my whole voice, my whole self. And whether it was a success or not doesn't matter. Whether you win that bottle of whiskey or not, it doesn't matter. The point is that you show up. So yeah, for me, that was a moment that really stands out recently about being confident. Like, it's something I struggle with socially sometimes, like many people do. But in those moments where you do show up like 100%, it's like, yeah, there's a kind of confidence. You can look back on yourself and say, I did that with my whole being. So yeah, that's my story to share.